Sio, Ale, Didanilasti, Dawadan, SvnoyiWahya. Hello and welcome. My name is SvnoyiWahya, or in English, Nightwolf.
In a world rich with diverse cultures and fascinating histories, there are countless groups and communities that have left an indelible mark on the tapestry of humanity. Today, we embark on a journey to discover the captivating story of the YAMASSEE, a remarkable people whose roots reach deep into the annals of time. Welcome, dear viewers, to Who Are the YAMASSEE? In this captivating video, we will delve into the captivating history, vibrant culture, and enduring legacy of the YAMASSEE people. From their ancestral lands to their modern-day endeavors, we will uncover the untold tales that shape their identity. Prepare to be immersed in a world where tradition and resilience intertwine, where ancient wisdom and modern aspirations coexist harmoniously. Together, we will explore the YAMASSEE's rich heritage, their connection to the land, and the profound impact they have had on their surrounding communities. Join us as we navigate through their captivating rituals, learn about their unique customs. We will witness the beauty of their traditional ceremonies, and witness the intricate craftsmanship that has been passed down through generations. Throughout this journey, we will encounter incredible individuals who embody the spirit of the YAMASSEE, sharing their personal stories and shedding light on the challenges they face in preserving their cultural heritage. Their resilience and unwavering pride will inspire us all. So, dear viewers, prepare to be captivated, enlightened, and moved as we embark on this immersive exploration into the world of the YAMASSEE. Together, let us celebrate their history, honor their traditions, and embrace the vibrant diversity that enriches our world. Welcome to Who Are the YAMASSEE? Let us begin this extraordinary journey together.
Chief Sekou Hidden Eagle Gentle, a member and chief of the Yamasee Muskogee Nation. He was born on August 25, 1974, in Florida. His mother is Chief Brenda Red Crow Thunderbird Mitchell, daughter of Betty Robinson and Edward James Mitchell. His father is Colonel Geronimo Gentle, son of Catherine Simmons and Willie Gentle. Chief Sekou Hidden Eagle is one of the few remaining Yamasee purebloods who has been raised and taught by the elders. During his upbringing, Chief Sekou lived in Monticello and Tampa, Florida, where he spent most of his adolescent life. He also lived in Louisiana among the Choctaw and Appalachian tribes of his family during his preteen years. He was sent to his great-grandmother to learn about the culture and heritage of the Yamasee. His great-grandmother was clan mother and elder Martha Mary Magdalene Wright, who became clan mother and matriarch after the passing of her aunt and grand matriarch Roberta Wright Ryhan. Chief Sekou Gentle is also the great-grandson of matriarch Fanny Gentle, daughter of Grand Matron Frances Rivers of Yamasee, Florida, now known as Jackson County, Florida. Frances Rivers was born to Chief London and Fanny Rivers in Yamasee, Beaufort County, South Carolina. According to Chief Sekou's family stories, after the war settled down, many Yamasee families that were living in Florida, Jackson County, and Monticello, Florida, along with multiple towns in northern Florida, returned to their homeland of South Carolina around the early 1800s. They easily integrated back with their family that never left and stayed in South Carolina among the white settlers. The white settlers, for the most part, left the Yamasee alone after the wars and did not want further conflict. According to Chief Sekou's family stories, the white settlers knew that if they alerted the British government of the Yamasee's presence, it would have been costly and devastating for the colonial whites. So, a mutually beneficial relationship developed, and the Yamasee were allowed to live in peace as independent and sovereign farmers and traders in the Beaufort County area. They tried to stay neutral during conflicts with other family members. Chief Sekou also mentions that the idea of the Yamasee's total extinction was fabricated by Governor Craven to save face. He explains that Governor Craven openly admitted in documents that they only attacked the Salkechi family members, who consisted of a colony of elders, women, and children seeking protection during the Yamasee War of 1715. Craven took advantage of the defenseless state of the Salkechi family, knowing who resided in that area and having reassurance that the Yamasee considered him a brother. According to Chief Sekou's family stories, some of his family members later returned to Georgia and Florida to reunite with the rest of the Yamasee family that stayed and permanently relocated to Florida. They intermingled with various tribes, such as the Seminole.
My people helped them find food, taught them how to hunt, how to find fresh water, and even help them build their homes. In return, they captured our women and our children and put them into slavery because of our skin tone. So the Yamasee people.
Chief Seco, now when you say Black Indians, many people outside of this conference perhaps would not be familiar with that conference. They'll say, well, Black and the Indian are kind of separate. Can you explain what the term means, Black Indians?
Black Indian is a misnomer. The word black, as far as we're concerned, one drop of Native blood unites us all, but we've always identified ourselves as we the people, Native American Indians, for the terminology of the United States and what they use. Black Indian, though, it's just I think it gives a pictorial or a picture in the mind's eye of what type of Indian, because there are historically been proven separation between different Indian tribes and skin tone and color. I think it allows us to identify which particular Native American tribe or identify the Indian that you're talking about as a whole. Most people use red man as synonymous, or red Indian as synonymous as a term, but it's not looked at any way other than being Indian or American. So black identifies the dark-skinned Creeks or Muskogee that we were once called.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the Creeks and Muskogee were people who, can you talk a little bit about that history, because they were people who were very prominent in what's now the eastern part of the United States?
Well, yes, before actually the Creek word came into existence, which was created, there was Muskukali or Muskogee, as you may have heard. Mm-hmm. Outside of that was Wali. My particular tribe was Yamassee. Yamassi was considered and is considered in the Industrial Commission, which is a congressional set, as being described factually as, for lack of a better word, African or Negro. We were one of the only tribes that were labeled that way, but were a part of the Muskogee Confederacy. History has proven, though, that we had a very large empire ourselves, being the only tribe that had upper and lower Yamasee. And within that, a lot of tribes you might have heard were a part of that confederation called Muskogee, which was actually Yamasee. Which is the Hichiti, the Appalachee, the Oconee, the Salkehatchee, those different tribes, the Hupspa, all those were different villages and tribes under, quote, the Muskogee bloodline, but were actually Yamasee people and citizens or tribal members.
I see. Now,
the Yamasee tribe was critical to the formation of the Low Country, but very few people know their story.
Now, one developer is doing its part to preserve the past on land he owns, which was once belonged to the tribe. News 3's Andrew Davis has that story now from Seabrook.
The Yamasee tribe, Senator Tim Scott's office, archaeologists, homeowners, and developers all at the same table, all connected for one goal: protecting history while developing the future.
It's really for us a thing of respect. We're being given respect and we're being honored as well by the Bull Point Association.
The meeting is the first of its kind, and it comes after 13,000 different artifacts were found inside Bull Point Plantation over the years, all belonging to the Yamasee Indian tribe.
Knowing that there's artifacts here that were uncovered, it's important to make sure that we showcase the history, not just bury it in the past.
This one's a trading ground and ceremonial gathering place for the tribe. Several spots were already declared historic. Billy Gavigan is the area's new developer. He wants to respect all of the history in the plantation and the tribe as he builds.
A lot of tribes have not been included in these type of meetings, and it creates a disruption, because when you basically say, hey, we have no respect for your ancestors, we're not respecting your graves or your ceremonial practices.
There's a way to showcase history and to bring it forward, and also to have an economic prosperity with it.
Homes have been built on or near those sacred grounds in the past. The goal is to build a better future through a partnership, tribe and developer together.
It doesn't have to be a situation where you have to hide or be manipulative, when you run across Native American artifacts or anything that pertains to Native American people, and thinking that it's going to stop or halt your particular project. There are those of us who accept and understand that oftentimes those artifacts that you find are found for a reason.
Hopefully this sets the model for the state and, for some of the federal delegates to understand that we've got a history here and how to bring it forward together.
This is the first of several meetings between the tribe and the people and the developer himself. The hope is that they can come to an agreement within the plantation. Outside, they hope to help build a cultural events center so everyone can understand the history and the tradition of the Yamasee tribe. Andrew Davis, WSAV News 3.
Now, we are going to look at the book, The 5 Civilized Tribes in Indian Territory, the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole Nations, Washington, United States Census print, Office, 1894, by Meredith Fletcher, Thomas Donaldson, John Donaldson, John W. Lane, and William H. Ward, where the authors state, the Yamassee or Jamassee were one of a small number of isolated tribes of dark complexion found widely scattered among the inhabitants of North and South America, supposed to have been immigrants from Africa prior to the European discovery of America. If this be so, it explains why Daliu persisted in slave hunting about Beaufort 1520, these Negroes being valuable as laborers, while the Indians were worthless. It were strange, too, if Negroes first occupied this section where they now predominate. Now, let's break down the provided text into a more detailed explanation, where the authors state, the Yamassee or Jamassee were one of a small number of isolated tribes of dark complexion found widely scattered among the inhabitants of North and South America. This sentence introduces the Yamassee tribe, a group of people with a dark complexion. These people were among a limited number of isolated tribes, meaning they lived separately from larger societies, and they were spread across both North and South America, supposed to have been immigrants from Africa prior to the European discovery of America. The authors propose a theory that suggests the Yamassee tribe might have originally come from Africa before the Europeans arrived in the Americas. This implies that these people may have migrated to the Americas from Africa at some point in history. However, this is only mere conjecture and an erroneous assumption, meaning incorrect. The authors continue, if this be so, it explains why Daliu persisted in slave hunting about Beaufort 1520, these Negroes being valuable as laborers, while the Indians were worthless. Though the theory about the Yamassee tribe's African origin is inaccurate, the authors believes it could clarify the actions of someone named Daliu in the region of Beaufort around the year 1520. Daliu is said to have engaged in slave hunting, targeting the Yamassee Indians, who are described as Negroes with value as laborers. This illustrates that the Yamassee Indians were hunted and captured and used as slaves due to their perceived labor value. Meanwhile, the authors contrast this with those who are now known as Native Americans, who they describe as being deemed worthless for labor. To continue, it were strange, too, if Negroes first occupied this section where they now predominate. The authors also acknowledge and consider the idea that the Yamassee people, whom they refer to as Negroes, were the first to inhabit the particular region they now dominate. In other words, they find it possible to believe that these people originally settled in the area and subsequently became the dominant group, given the historical context and dynamics of the region. In summary, the passage discusses a theory about the Yamassee tribe's possible African origins and its implications for the historical actions of individuals like Daliu engaging in slave hunting. The authors also finds it likely to consider the possibility of this group of people being the original inhabitants of the region where they currently predominate due to them having the largest population. This is proven in the following passage, continuing to the book, Sketch of the Seminole War and Sketches During a Campaign by a lieutenant of the Left Wing, Charleston, 1836. East Florida was the original possession of the ancient Yamassees, who also owned a portion of Carolina, and the fierce and warlike spirit of that powerful tribe seems to have sprung up from their graves to animate the souls of their conquerors. Some few drops of their blood yet exist in the veins of the Seminoles, and the language of the latter has borrowed many of their words. In both instances, love of country and hatred of the white man were the remote and abiding cause of hostilities. In both, the Spaniards were concerned and aided the Indians by furnishing them ammunition, for they chiefly supplied the quantities of powder which the Seminoles have so profusely expended without exhausting, and it is now generally believed that they have encouraged the carrying away of Negroes from Florida. Now, let's break down and provide a detailed explanation. East Florida was the original possession of the ancient Yamassees, who also owned a portion of Carolina. This sentence establishes that East Florida was originally inhabited by the Yamassee, an indigenous people. The Yamassee people also had ownership of a portion of Carolina, which refers to the Carolinas, two neighboring states in the southeastern United States, and the fierce and warlike spirit of that powerful tribe seems to have sprung up from their graves to animate the souls of their conquerors. This phrase suggests that the strong and aggressive nature of the Yamassee, known for their warrior-like characteristics, appears to have had an influence on their conquerors, the people who defeated them. It implies that the conquerors may have adopted or inherited some of the Yamassee's fierce spirit. Some few drops of their blood yet exist in the veins of the Seminoles, and the language of the latter has borrowed many of their words. Here, it's indicated that the Yamassee's bloodline remains within the Seminole people, who are another indigenous group tethered to the Yamassee. The text also mentions that the Seminole language has incorporated many words from the Yamasee language, indicating a cultural and linguistic connection between the two groups. In both instances, love of country and hatred of the white man were the remote and abiding cause of hostilities. This sentence points out that in both the case of the Yamasee and the Seminoles, the underlying reasons for their conflicts and hostilities were rooted in a deep love for their homeland and a strong animosity towards the European invaders and colonizers. In both, the Spaniards were concerned and aided the Indians by furnishing them ammunition, for they chiefly supplied the quantities of powder which the Seminoles have so profusely expended without exhausting. This part highlights that the Spaniards played a role in the conflicts involving the indigenous tribes. They provided the tribes, including the Seminoles, with ammunition, particularly gunpowder. The Seminoles used this ammunition extensively in their conflicts without running out, which suggests significant support from the Spaniards, and it is now generally believed that they have encouraged the carrying away of Negroes from Florida. The text concludes by suggesting that there is a prevailing belief that the Spaniards actively encouraged the abduction of enslaved Yamasee Indians from Florida. This implies that the Spaniards supported the practice of capturing and transporting the Yamasee as slaves, likely to work on plantations or other labor-intensive activities. To summarize, the passage discusses the historical presence and influence of the Yamasee, the Seminoles, and the Spaniards in East Florida and the southeastern United States. It highlights cultural connections, the reasons for hostilities, and the Spaniards' involvement in supporting indigenous tribes and facilitating the enslavement of the Yamasee.
But what we decided to do was share with you guys our tribe. Whether you're part of the tribe or not, you're still our tribe because, you know, we all come from the Creator. You know, so we're all brothers and sisters. You're my mothers, you're my fathers, you're my uncles, you're my brothers. And so we want to share with you guys our lives, and you guys get a chance to witness with us our children grow up, you know, and become warriors and princesses, and see that battle that most tribes have today of trying to maintain our culture, our identity, and keep our children focused on culture, identity, and heritage, so that we no longer cease to exist. You know, our focus isn't like most people of color's focus who claim their native ancestry. You know, we have come to understand, you know, we can't force anyone to do anything. No different than, you know, you, the person watching this video. You know, I can't force you to see me any other way than you already want to see me or perceive me. That's what's going to happen regardless. A lot of what we deal with is people who get upset with us because their perception and their ideology of the way they think our tribe should move isn't the way we see it. You know, their focus isn't our focus. Our focus is about survival. A lot of people focus have been on paperwork, filing paperwork with people, and, you know, trying to force the United States government into doing something that they want. You know, our only thing, and my only thing as chief, has been making sure that I protect our people, knowing that we don't have enough guns to fight anyone. You know what I mean? We don't have enough guns to fight a government. You know, if they don't do what you want them to do, that doesn't even make sense. And we fought enough and lost enough lives and enough of our elders and enough of our chiefs, you know, that it has been pointless, you know. And we pay attention to what's going on right now, you know, in the world, you know, with other leaders, you know. And so, you know, anyone that tries to get you to put your family and your elders and people at risk, you know, look out for them, watch out for them, you know, because a real warrior knows to protect the family first, you know what I mean? And if it means fighting a battle another day, then do it, or a different way to fight the battle. So, you know, we are just trying to share who we are and what we are, so there could be no misconception, you know what I mean? You can't get it mistaken. You know, you see it from our mouths, you hear it from our mouths, you see it within our lives, you know. We have nothing to hide.
Report of the Industrial Commission on Agriculture and Agricultural Labor, Report 1901, Washington Government Printing Office. As it states, the large Negro population on the coast of South Carolina is quite different from this here described. The mayor of Beaufort says the town is remarkable for quiet and good order. For 20 years past, not a single individual has been killed or seriously injured in any disturbance within the corporate limits. That is the statement of the mayor of Beaufort, and Beaufort is perhaps the blackest spot in the whole South. That is to say, the population predominate more there than anywhere else. There is a peculiar historical fact connected with the town that I would like to mention to the commission. That is the place where the federal troops first set the Negroes free. It was done on those islands in the neighborhood of Beaufort, and they are now there the predominant race, and this mayor refers to them as a quiet community. A most peculiar thing is this Cortrophages in his book on the human race asserts the fact that the African lived on these islands long before the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. He is high in authority, and he says that the Yamassee Indians were Negroes, or were known afterwards as the fiercest of the Indian tribes of the South. The well-known Yamassee Indians were Africans. Question by Mr. Phillips: is it a fact that they were much darker than the other Indians? Answer: yes, it is a fact. Question: and the hair was different too? Answer: so it is stated by one of the most distinguished ethnologists in the world. Another corroborative proof is that the Spaniards found that one Negro was equal to 10 Indians for work, and they therefore imported these Indian Negroes and carried them to the West Indies to experiment with. End quote. This report discusses certain aspects of the population and history of the coastal region of South Carolina, particularly the town of Beaufort, in relation to the Yamassee's population and their own historical origins. Let's now break down the text and explain. Before continuing, note that in this document they are undoubtedly referring to the American Indians as Negro and Negroes. To continue, first, the context. The passage is part of a larger report discussing issues related to agriculture and labor. Second, the Negro population in Beaufort, South Carolina. The passage starts by describing the large Negro population in the coastal area of South Carolina, particularly in the town of Beaufort. It notes that the population there is different from what was previously described, hinting at the fact that the situation might differ from general perceptions or stereotypes. Third, the peaceful nature of Beaufort. The passage quotes the mayor of Beaufort, who states that the town is known for its quiet and good order. The mayor emphasizes that there have been no killings or serious injuries resulting from disturbances within the town for the past 20 years. This statement is provided to highlight the peaceful nature of the Yamassee community. Fourth, the historical context. The passage mentions a historical event related to Beaufort. It was the place where federal troops first emancipated enslaved American Indians, who they now call today African Americans. This event led to a significant Black American Indian population in the area. The text implies that despite being predominantly Negro, which they point out that these Negroes are Yamasee Indians, the town is described as a quiet community, though some of this is disproven by earlier documentation, which mentioned that the Yamasee owned parts of the Carolinas. And I say that some is disproven because the releasing of the Yamasee slaves is true. The reason for them being the predominant race in Beaufort because of the freeing is incorrect. They are the predominant race because they are the aboriginals of the area. Fifth, reference to Cortrophages. Cortrophages, likely a reference to Jean-Louis Armand de Cortrophages de Briot, a French naturalist and anthropologist, is cited. Cortrophages claimed in his book on the human race that Africans had lived on the islands near Beaufort long before Christopher Columbus discovered America. The text implies that this historical presence contributes to the current population demographics. As we mentioned earlier, this is a misnomer, and the so-called Negro Indians are indeed the Aboriginal American. 6. Origins of the Yamasee Indians. The passage discusses Cortrophages' assertion that the Yamasee Indians, who were known as one of the fiercest Indian tribes in the South, were actually of African origin solely based on the fact that they are darker skinned and had different hair compared to other so-called Indians. However, color does not dictate ethnicity. 7. Comparison with Spaniards' observations. The passage mentions that the Spaniards observed that one Yamasee Indian slave was equivalent in strength to 10 Native American slaves. This observation led the Spaniards to import the Yamasee Indian slaves to the West Indies for labor. In summary, the passage is discussing the unique demographic makeup and historical context of Beaufort, South Carolina, specifically emphasizing the presence of a significant Negro Indian population and the peaceful nature of their community despite its historical significance as the place where Negro Indians were first freed by federal troops. The passage also mentions theories about the origins solely based on mere conjecture, which we have easily disproven. In addition, the indigenous tribes and the observations made by the Spaniards regarding the productivity of the Yamasee slaves compared to Native American laborers. And I would like to emphasize this is a government document, and these are the words and statement not of myself but of the respective persons and entities.
Chehuntamo ak itimukala ane miki siku olam hachutalami Yamassee hajo mikules yate Yamassee puti wasaska epo ule puni yate ufu ukle safane uke lame po aluste alake wakina la Florida ak mikusuki putalache pune honle yakne sakyarlana hicha chi changes u chief changes anu changes talwa changes tana akapa yate Yamassee fisak shinabichi.
If you would like to express your encouragement towards these works and content, please go to paypal.me/SvnoyiWahya YT, or you can even directly contribute through Cashapp at $SvnoyiWahya. Any amount you give will be immensely appreciated. Thank you for your generosity.